Anyway, I thought some of you might be interested in an update on what happened to the pear tree. So, if anyone tells you that sheep are dumb, they're lying to you. At least if food is involved. They are incredibly smart when it comes to food. So I was going to put in some electric fence, but I kind of talked myself out of it because we have kids and we like to have kids visit our animals, and I really don't want them accidentally touching this. So none of this is live, but it's kind of blocked them a little bit. So down here on the bottom, this is kind of where the original damage was. And it actually looks like maybe this other side had enough left. Really, a tree only needs basically a little strip of bark to be alive. So you see that down there, it's like, that looks really bad, but look at this. And the top of the tree where I cut off the branches, it's just going bananas. It's like, woohoo, let's go to town, let's grow. So the reason I said sheep are not stupid is the sheep actually figured out, you can see from some of the dirt here, that he could stand on this protector here and then get up higher in the tree. So that's how I got these bite marks up here. These were not from the wintertime. These were from much more recently. So all the low branches that I thought was, oh, this is a good idea when I just had chickens, and now it's like, okay, this is a terrible idea. So we're just going for fruit tree, get above the browse line. So that's our new mantra when you have goats. Now the goats I don't think are as bad because they don't seem to want to take off the bark of the tree. They just nibble. They nibble the branches, which is annoying. It still sets them back, but it doesn't kill the tree. It doesn't have that risk of killing the tree. So anyway, this is the pear tree. This is Moonglow. So it looks like it's definitely going to make it. So it's fine, surprisingly enough. I thought he had really killed it, but it's doing quite well. Now, I do have two other pear trees out here. Yeesh, there's a lot of poison ivy out here. That's one of the reasons we got the goats. We really wanted to get goats out here because there's poison ivy. That's this tall, gangly things. These are all poison ivy. We're hoping that the goats will help knock some of those back. Anyway, this is a different pear tree. This one's called Kiefer. It's kind of just supposed to be super resistant. I got it on sale, and the sheep, of course, figured out how to. You see this bottom part here has kind of smashed over. You see the dirt there. He's basically stood on it and then used that to get some of the leaves. I mostly got this as a pollinator, so I'm not too mad about that. It's still annoying, but it's not the end of the world. Then over here, try not to get hit by any of this poison ivy that's still here, is I've got this is one I got from, I think this came from Grandpa's orchard originally. This one's called Blake's Pride. And it's another one of those that's supposed to be super resistant to fire blight. And it really, where I had it before, I moved it this year. And it was just not happy. It did not like where it was. And surprisingly enough, it's doing pretty darn well by comparison. So I'm just kind of letting it go, trying to get it tall enough so that basically the goats at least can't reach it. The real evidence of sheep ingenuity is this one right here. Because basically he figured out how to rip through the fence, because it was two halves of a fence. I just kind of bent them together, and I thought that would be enough, but he's a ram, so he decided that he was going to get himself some nice apple foliage, apple bark. So that's not too bad on this side. But if you see over here, and he just barked that. And I have not yet, knock on wood, I've not seen the goats do stuff like that yet. So one side is kind of gone, and a bunch of again, he was standing on the protector, and he was able to get at more of the branches, because sheep can't really lean up as easily as goats. But if you notice up here, it's got quite a nice bowl up at the top. So I'd cut the top out of it, again, to kind of reduce the height. And now, of course, I somewhat regret that. But it's looking pretty good, surprisingly enough. So it should be okay. I probably should cut these lower branches off completely because they're just going to be chewed on if I don't. And it just reduces the temptation more than likely. But anyway, so got some living plants. Having animals in your orchard is a little bit difficult. It does keep the grass down quite nicely, so they don't have much competition. And of course, there's lots of manure around for them. So it's got benefits, but it does have drawbacks. So there we go. Now the littlest tree is over here. So this is a Seckel pear. That apple was a Winesap. So you can see the sheep and really that's probably not even from their teeth. That's just from them standing on this protector to get up to the top parts. So you can see here, this is one of those stark easy starts, and the goats like to just nibble off the leaves. They don't really go after the bark too much. They'll just nibble off the leaves. They may take a branch or two, but they won't really, at least the Nigerian dwarfs we have, they don't seem to want to ring bark the tree. So that's good at least. So I'm probably going to have to, instead of using this open mesh, especially for the goats, I'm going to have to use hardware cloth that's got much thinner holes, so they won't be able to go through it. And I probably have to support it better so that it can't really be bent and stood on. So that's the current plan in the war between me and the ruminants. So there we are. If you want to keep track of the saga, like and subscribe, and you can see what happens to this poor little Seckel tree. So I think something like this is probably the best solution. I got the inner fence, the hardware cloth. You could just use the hardware cloth, which would probably be cheaper. Because otherwise, a goat's nose can go right through it. See here, he would like to, but he can't. And at least goats, they won't usually ring bark the tree. Now, I probably should put some more protection around the trunk itself. But this tree was kind of crooked to begin with, so it's a little bit of a problem. But anyway, that's how I would protect your trees if they're actually in with your animals.